Essex Junction, Vermont. A typically beautiful New England setting. The rugged landscape and quaint charm draw thousands of tourists here each year. This weekend, a collection of brazen characters have strolled into town. And this colorful group, with their messy streak, hope to mystify the locals and leave their mark on Essex Junction, Vermont. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the best in NMRO mud racing. Today, it's the New England Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals from the Champlain Valley Exposition in Essex Junction, Vermont. Today, Trucks and Tractor Power makes its first visit to the state of Vermont for the New England Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals at the Champlain Valley Exposition Center. Now, this facility's been around since the roaring 20s, but they have never seen anything quite like these blowing, supercharged mud racers of NMRO. In fact, this is the Green Mountain State, and these guys will likely churn up a mountain of mud. Let's see if the fans become addicted to mud racing. Here with more in the competition is Army Armstrong.
In order to say I've won them all, you must first say I won the first one, and that's where we are right now in Essex Junction, Vermont, Gary. As you said, the first time ever the Jamboree has rolled this far into the Northeast, and we're going to be seeing a lot of familiar faces, but a lot of new faces too. And the new faces just might have an advantage. These guys in the Northeast are playing with their cars real close to their chest. A lot of humidity in here, a lot of moisture. They're not telling anybody what the baseline is for making horsepower in this event. Earlier you alluded to a mountain. Today we're going to find out who's the king of the mountain in the Northeast.
Well, there's a new face. I think that's Curly the Three Stooges, actually the back of the helmet of the mud rat, Rodney Covington. Now, earlier, Army took a look at today's track conditions.
This is what it looks like to the very first guy in line. No ruts, almost looks like a Kansas flat mile, if you will. A little bit of water down there. As a matter of fact, there's not very much water in the pit today at all. But the drivers, it doesn't really seem to bother them. They're going to adjust for it accordingly. The starting line looks relatively good. We're going to be finding out where they can stick the horsepower. But right now what I want to do is show you an interesting part, and I want you to listen to something here. Now listen up. Those are the starting beams you hear so much about that trip the electronic timer. As soon as you leave from this end, 180 feet away, it's 2.5 seconds of an E-ticket ride. Gary, back to you.
Well, you're ready now for Class 5 competition. Should be a fast course without a lot of friction because of the lack of water. There's a look at Mike Camella in Bonkers. Mike Camella will be going alongside Rodney Covington. There's a look at Bonkers. And, of course, Covington is the guy with the Curly Joe on the back of his helmet. And there is Covington. Covington drives the Mud Rat.
We've seen both of these drivers on the tour with us before. However, like we said, this is the first time they've gone this far northeast. Both of them kind of looking at the other guy like, you go first, no, you go first, no, you go first, you go first. They're going into those beams now, and they are going to set the baseline for the rest of the field in just a moment, Gary.
Well, it shouldn't be difficult to stage. No gaps to really look for, no ruts to negotiate because it's a flat surface there at the starting line right now for the first pair. Oh, and a great run for both of these guys, Covington and Camella. Let's check the times. You talk about a baseline, 277 for Mike Camella. And look at that, Rodney's faster at 261. He lays down the gauntlet in a big way.
Yeah, both the drivers showing everybody that we're going to have a race before the day's over. Big Chrysler Hemi horsepower, just muscling on the other end, really getting up making horsepower, Gary.
So once again, an excellent run, a 261. Let's go down trackside.
You know, it's funny, the vehicle's not really dirty, but then again, we looked at the track before you made the run, and there wasn't that much mud or goo in the track.
No, it was a good track. It was sandy. That's a better track for us to run. You get a good hook, and it's really, you can control the vehicle a lot better.
Oh, a great crowd, a great racetrack, and some great action coming up on Trucks and Tractor Power. They're part of the great crowd here in Essex Junction. Stay with us. Hey, Hey, here's a weekend warrior getting ready to do battle with the rest of the fine iron here as we welcome you back to the Champlain Valley Exposition in Essex, Junction, Vermont, as Ford Trucks present the New England Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals. As Class 5 competition underway in a big way, a 261 laid down just moments ago as we take a look at some more of the show and shine area here in Vermont. Our first chance to travel to this part of the country. And there's a look at Chris Kane and Raisin Kane, the outlaw racing team out of Virginia. And he'll be taking on Darren Tibbetts in Midnight Magic. There's David Ray, who's given up the driving duties this weekend to Tibbetts. Now, earlier, Army had some thoughts on fuel consumption.
Even though this game only lasts about 3 seconds, there is quite a bit of fuel consumed, and that's quite an expensive process. For an example, the VP racing fuel in this vehicle runs around $2 a gallon. The vehicle runs a 5-gallon tank. They top it off before they run. When they come back into the pit area, it's normally empty. 3 seconds, 5 gallons of fuel, a lot of fuel, you say. That's exactly right, because by the time you warm the engine up, drive it to the line, make a run, and then motor back into the pit area, you've basically used up all the fuel. Maybe that's why they call this the money pit.
Well, of course, Army standing in there with Fred Wilhite's money pit. We'll see Fred a bit later in the competition here. But right now, Tibbetts and Kane getting set. The time to beat at 261.
Whoa!
Another good run by both these guys. Let's take a look at the numbers. Look at that, a 261 for Tibbetts.
Big top end charge by the Ford, a 276 with a Chevrolet-powered Chris Kane vehicle. So we're going to see a good race before the day's over. First 2 runs, they had identical 261 times, Gary. One by Chevrolet, a Chrysler, and one by Ford.
Jeremy Finley coming up next in the S-Kicker. There's a look at Jeremy.
Finley relies on the supercharged Chevrolet engine, but who's he going up against the other lane, Gary?
Joey Quick, the nickname for Joey Valerial.
Both drivers know what they're going to have to do, Gary. The 261's a good number. However, they're still early in the field. Somebody could still bump that number. Could it be one of these 2 guys? We're going to find out right now. Remember, it's the clock they're racing. They're not racing each other. You race the clock in this sport.
Oh, a good run by both. Let's check the times.
261's what they had to beat.
260 for Joey Quick, a 260.
That makes him quick of the day. Oh,
look
no.
at this.
Yeah.
A 253 for Jeremy Finley, and that takes him to the top of the leaderboard.
What a run by Finley. Like I say, you're racing the clock here. So Finley waits to get the light he wants and just muscles it on the other end.
What a great ride for Jeremy Finley. He is leading at 253.
Jeremy, a 253, that's an awfully fast run.
Yeah, we've got it dialed in right now. I couldn't have did it without the help of my brother and my family, that's for sure.
In this sport, it's nice to be fast, but you have to be quick. Here is Paul Lukasiewicz staging the Polish Express, and earlier, Army took a look at this mud vehicle.
It's hard to believe that the tire you're looking at right now will go in excess of 120 mile an hour in less than 2 seconds from the sitting still position it's in now. When that happens, you're going to develop a lot of debris or missile parts, if you will. To deflect the debris, you have a mud flap or a mud deflector here. But I want you to come back here and look at something else. Past the mud deflector, look where the chips of paint are already gone off of this vehicle, where the debris or rocks or chips or whatever at over 120 mile an hour have hit the vehicle. Now you can see what it can do to this body. Just imagine what it'll do to your body if it hits you.
All the more reason for a full face helmet and neck brace. You're kind of sequestered there in the roll cage. The touch of madness. That is Gary Riddick. Lukasiewicz staged on the near lane. Well, not as quick as we have seen. 271 for Gary. And over in that near lane, Paul, a 321.
Gary, watching the replay come up, I want you to watch how the cars start to move around. Our 253 time, the driver went straight. As you can tell, these guys are working for a living. Neither of these runs were straight.
Yeah, the advantage was to go early in this competition. Right, let's go trackside and talk to Gary Riddick.
Is there a difference in the lanes out there? I know you only run one, but, you know.
Both lanes seem pretty decent, Army. Yeah, both tracks are turning about equal times, and I think it's really good track here this weekend.
Well, the track early was obviously better than right now with Jeremy Finley's S-Kicker run at 2.531 faster than Joey, Darren, Rodney, and Gary as the competition in Class 5 continues here in Essex Junction, Vermont. Some fine-looking iron. We're coming right back. Stay with us on Trucks and Tractor Power.
Under 6 or under...
Welcome back to Essex Junction, Vermont. There's a look at the Winooski River. Some natural beauty and man-made splendor as well.
Speaking of man-made splendor, look at this Bronco. It's one of the many vehicles on display in the show and shine division. Yeah, they're racing here, but they got some beautiful trucks on display trying to win some of the top awards on the special event series.
That's what we call the chrome and candy apple.
Boy, so many youngsters get involved in this. Look at all the colors. It's a husband and wife thing, but right now we're going back to the bad boys of the mud
You
sport.
won't find much chrome and candy apple here. Ron Pence and Chuck Knoll, a classic matchup. Now, earlier, Army took a look at this vehicle.
Across the back of the vehicle, it simply says, gonna beat you like a stepchild. That's exactly the philosophy of this team. And as a matter of fact, this stepchild, since you last saw it in the winner's circle at Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, has been literally taken behind the shed and beat up on himself. As a matter of fact, after a jaunt down in Dixie at Phoenix City, Alabama, Billy Thomas's track, they literally had to rebuild this vehicle from this point forward. They had to put new down tubes on it, had to put a whole new suspension on it. When you do a whole lot of work like this to the front of a vehicle, you've got one major problem. That is, will the vehicle go straight? Now, we know how Chuck drives these vehicles, kind of a kamikaze philosophy, and the decal tells it all.
Now, well, you have to be quick. You have to be straight in Class 5 competition. But there's Knoll, the far lane, Ron Pence and Tater in the near lane. A couple of real veterans. They've gone after each other for a number of seasons. There's your time to beat, a 2:53 as Knoll stages.
Either one of these guys could do it if they get the run they're looking for. Pence, very quiet. Knoll, outgoing personality. But they're going to let the vehicles do the talking.
Oh, and a good run laid down by both. Let's check Tater. A 2:58, ever so close. That is second quick thus far, and there's a 2:60 for Chuck Knoll.
That was a good side-by-side run. Both drivers really laying down a good shot. Knoll comes back in that far lane in they call it a pickup truck. It's a fiberglass replica, but again, you can see they are not making straight runs. They're having to really work the steering wheel, Gary.
Here's a look at Pence in Tater. Once again, the track beginning to break up just a bit. So as a result, the time's not quite as quick, but Ron Pence is standing by to talk to Army Armstrong.
Ron Pence, a 2.58. Everybody is a gaggle around the 2.55 to 2.60. How come?
Everybody's running close. There's a lot of competition out here now, and it's all good.
What about the lane choice out there? The lanes look pretty good today, too, Ron.
Yeah, they were pretty good. Pretty good lanes, yeah.
I like the name of this vehicle coming up. You look at the Pence Brothers vehicle, but there's the Dirty Bird of Gary Osteen out of Daytona Beach, Florida. And he'll be pulling up alongside Jimmy Carr's Never Satisfied. That is a great name for a race car.
Well, both of these guys are great racers. Too. Look at Carr. He's kind of straddling the rut. He doesn't want to get caught in the rut of the guy in front of him. Meanwhile, Osteen, closest to us, relies on that awesome Ford. When he brought the supercharged Ford engine to this Ford, whoa, big fire on Osteen.
You were speaking of a big Ford?
Yeah,
a
well,
hot Ford.
When he brought this motor into the sport and showed it could run, it revolutionized the sport. Because right now, Ford's the national point leader, I understand, in this competition.
Well, a 260 for the Dirty Bird, but an expensive 260 as he smoked that power plant. Let's watch again an ISO now on Gary Osteen.
Pop. It's called kicking a rod.
Right out the bottom end. And his run at 260. And here's Army with Gary.
Talk about an expensive pop. I want you to look right here. This is a safety shield, and you really can't see it's blocking the view. It did exactly what it's supposed to do. You actually kicked a rod out of the side of the block. The safety shield contained it. We did get a little bit of a fire out of it, but the driver's okay. Gary, real quick, did you have any idea anything was going wrong on that run?
No, I didn't, Army. It blew the head gasket out, and part of the cylinder head's what it actually blew out. It was just a little bit too lean, and that happens whenever you try to get all out of it you can get out of it.
Wind them tight and break them at times. As we take a look now at the standings, Jeremy Finley continues to lead at 2-5-3-1, then Ron Pence, then Gary, Chuck, and then Joey as Class 5 competition continues here in Essex Junction, Vermont. Randy Gehring up next in Bad to the Bone. He is about to stage. And there is William DeRoche in the adrenalizer.
William DeRoche is listed as his crew chief, Bob Newhart, Daryl, and his brother Daryl. So you know you're in Vermont, right?
Yeah, in fact, we're staying at his hotel.
Nice place.
Yes, it is.
Kind of an interesting looking vehicle. It looks like it's almost a street legal vehicle. Short wheelbase, not as light, naturally aspirated, so we're not looking for that quick number, and we didn't get it, Gary.
Well, not at all. Randy got through the mud, and you can see the problem with William over there. He's up on the berm. He's been DQ'd. He looks like he could drive that right through the snow during the winter months here in New England, as he does finally exit the mud pit. But he has been DQ'd, and there's Randy's 309, so not nearly as quick as what we would like to see from Randy. Look once again what happens to that Jeep.
Okay, the short wheelbase is what causes the accident here, meaning see how close the front and rear tires are together. Once it gets crossed up, it hooks a rut and pulls him right into the left side, Gary.
Well, now we've seen the replay. Let's go down trackside and talk to William.
Bill, a lot of smoke coming out from underneath it, but I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think the short wheelbase worked against you.
Yeah, it might have. I mean, the steering in this thing really doesn't work all that well as far as the long wheelbase, but just got out of shape there and tried to get it back as much as I could.
Well, the shootout continues here in Class 5 in Essex, Junction, Vermont. A lot of activity in the show and shine area as well. Hey, bring me over a sandwich. I'm hungry. Stay with us. We're coming right back on Trucks and Tractor Power. Welcome back to the Champlain Valley Exposition and the four-wheel Jamboree New England Nationals. The four-wheel Jamborees are part of the Special Events Performance Series featuring a weekend of four-wheel fun. Check out the manufacturer's midway. There's also several categories of show and shine competition. Contact the Special Events Promotion Company to find out when a Jamboree will be near your area. Well, one of my favorite things to do during these Jamboree weekends is to stroll the grounds and check out all the great trucks. And the Army's doing the same thing, and earlier he found a very unique sports utility vehicle.
At every Jamboree we go to, there's always a unique vehicle. Well, this is the third Jamboree that I've seen this vehicle at. It belongs to Robert DeBeck. It's a 1963 Ford 4x4 that started out, basically, it looks like he found it in the field. As a matter of fact, he's got a book here that chronologically tells you what he's done with the truck. Now, he's a carpenter by trade, so that tells you that Brian Wilson of the Beast Boys would love this guy because he's got a wooden bed on it. He's got wooden doors, got wooden fenders, and everything is wood except the frame. So basically, I would say he's a Ford fan. Wouldn't you?
Bad pun, but a true Woody.
True Woody has surfboards. And we're in Vermont.
Yeah,
and these
yes.
people are getting a chance for the very first time to see one of these Jamborees, and they are getting to see some good stuff.
Have some highlights now from Class 5 competition. Keith Mitchell in the nitrous-injected Magician goes at 364 out of the far lane. And Heath Wright in the Right Stuff, another one of those non-blown cars. He hooks a rut and goes out of bounds. He was DQ'd. One of the best names in all of motorsports, Bill Ryan's Dog Lips. Now, he makes the highlights by virtue of the vehicle name alone.
Yeah, that goes to the Mud Racing Names Hall of Fame.
Best time among the naturally aspirated machines, Thomas Smith in Equal Justice. He was clocked at a 3.05.
I'll tell you what, for a full-body truck, that was a ride. But speaking of a ride, you know you're going to see it when you see the little dingleberries come out.
And these light up for night racing, Fred tells me. Fred Wilhite, the last competitor, the car that we showcased earlier, Money Pit.
I bet he doesn't know if they light up or not. I guarantee his eyes are closed as soon as he leaves the start line.
I'm telling you, he told me that they do indeed light up. In fact, he's making fun of the Super Trooper lights on top of the Super Trooper vehicles. Yeah. That's why he has those on top of his helmet. All right, our final pass. Fred Wilhite will have a single run. His shooting at 253.
This will be to his advantage. He doesn't have to worry about anybody crossing over in front of him or anything. He knows he can do the number. Will the track hold the horsepower is the question.
Looks like a good pass.
Ooh, what's the time, Gary?
A 2:55.
Well, a replay is going to show us how he cut a good number. You'll notice he straddled the ruts. I want you to look at the tire. See, the rut's right in between the car, Gary, so he was up on top and humming.
Second place in the standings today. Let's go trackside, and here's Fred Wilhite.
2:55, an awfully good run drawing this late into the field. Running by yourself, is that an advantage to you out here?
It lets me pay more attention to the staging lights and stuff like that. I don't have to concentrate and worry who I'm against and stuff like that. That late in the field is not an advantage.
So obviously Jeremy Finley, by virtue of going early, takes the win at 2:53 over Fred Wilhite's 2:55. There was Ron Pence, Gary Osteen, and Chuck Knoll. But once again, your victor is Jeremy Finley. He's with Army.
King of the mountain today is a guy named Jeremy Finley. He brought out of the third heat to win this thing, but you had to sit and watch an awful lot of guys take shots at you today.
Yeah, there's a lot of quick trucks out there. We got ours working pretty good right now.
Congratulations to you and the rest of your crew.
Yeah, appreciate it. I couldn't have did it without my help of my sponsors, Kilby Chassis Design and City Head Service, and my crew chief, Dave.
Well, our congratulations to Jeremy Finley. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. We'll see you next week. Now, here's news of an exciting video release from Diamond P Sports.